Hey guys, my name is Marquez, and today we're going to be going over some camera basics. More specifically, we're going to be talking about FPS, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. The first thing I want to talk about is frame rate, also known as FPS. This is the amount of frames per second or frames that are within a given second of your video. Typically, the most cinematic frame rate is considered 23.99 or 24 frames per second. This is what most movies are shot in. If you want something smoother or want to put something into slow motion, you're going to typically start off at 60 FPS all the way up to 120, 240, and then so on and so on. If you want a smoother look to your videos, such as shooting sports or any type of action-based thing, you want to shoot at something like 60 FPS. You can also start slow motion at 60 FPS, but to get true slow motion, you need to get to 120. Next, let's talk about shutter speed. Shutter speed as it pertains to photography is how quick the shutter closes on the camera. In photography, that's how you get the perfectly frozen photos of a car going by or a person running. In video, shutter speed tends to work in conjunction with frame rate in something called the 180-degree rule. This rule essentially is that your shutter speed is 2 times whatever your frame rate is going to be. For example, if you're shooting at 60 FPS, you want your shutter speed to be double of that, which would be 120, but some cameras don't do that, so you're going to go with 1/125. If you don't do that, typically you might get some random looks or something like that in your camera. You typically want to go to whatever the number is, multiply by 2, round it up so you're not going under that double mark. Next, let's talk about aperture, also known as f-stop. It gets the name f-stop basically because on a camera, typically you're going to see your aperture denoted with an F in front of it. Aperture controls what is known as depth of field. This is the distance between the nearest and the furthest objects that are acceptably sharp or in focus in an image captured with your camera. For example, an image shot at an aperture of 2.4 would be considered a wide aperture. This aperture lets in more light and creates what is known as a shallow depth of field. Basically, the background is going to look a little blurrier. Compare this to a smaller aperture such as f11 that's going to keep more of a shot in focus, but with the trade-off of making it a little bit darker. Typically, you're going to use a smaller aperture for things such as group photos or landscape photos, and then you're going to want to use a wider aperture for things like portraits or when you're trying to get a really detailed shot of something. Essentially, the way this works is the smaller the number, the more light that gets let into the camera, the shallower the depth of field, and the larger the number, the less light, the less depth of field. Lastly, let's talk about ISO. To keep it simple, ISO can be defined as your camera's sensitivity to light. A low ISO such as 100 or 200 is going to be really good for bright sunny days or areas where there is a ton of light. But once you go indoors, you might have to bump your ISO to something like 800 or even 1600 sometimes. Essentially, the darker or brighter the area you are filming, the higher or lower your ISO needs to be to make a well-lit scene. The main thing to keep note of this is the higher your ISO, the more noise you're going to be introducing into your video or image. You can attempt to solve this by making adjustments to your other settings such as your aperture or your shutter speed depending on what you're filming at. Another simple solution to this is to also try to add more light into your scenes so that you can lower your ISO as well. ISO, shutter speed, and aperture all work together in order to create what is known as the overall exposure of your image. I hope that learning these camera basics are going to be helpful for you on your next video or photography project, and thanks for watching.